It's podcast day. Friends, it's podcast day. Hello and welcome to the Hey BrownBerry podcast. My name is Mars. I am Hey BrownBerry. Welcome in. Welcome to the podcast, and thank you so much for stopping by my little corner of the internet. I thought I would share with you today the goings-on from my birthday weekend. A couple of days ago, I turned 44, and I'm one of those people that is very happy to be in my 40s. I'm still here. It's a reason to celebrate every year, and I was gifted the pleasure of being with one of my closest friends this past weekend out on the west coast of the U.S., just north of Seattle in Washington State. I'm working right now on a project that I started during that trip. I'm going to share with you some of the sights that I saw and places that I visited. While I was traveling and during my trip, I did get a chance to work on my current knitting project, which is Rift by Jacqueline Cieslak. Rift Tee was Jacqueline's cropped short sleeve sweater pattern, and she recently came out with a long sleeve version of that pattern, so it's been updated to include a long sleeve option. I chose this pattern as my travel project one because I really want to have it done within the next couple of weeks. I'd love to start wearing it over some of my tunic dresses and with some leggings. And I also wanted a project that I knew I could work on while sitting on the airplane or sitting in a beautiful cabin in the woods. So I've used my Draper Kingston yarn. This is a DK weight yarn. The breed is Targhee, and it's amazing. It is squishy and delicious. I love it. I'm really enjoying working with it. In my sweater, I've gotten past the point of the split hem, and I'm working my way up the body. I've done some twisted ribbing, and I'm using a technique for the twisted ribbing, which actually continues up the side seams. That's called combination knitting. I may do a short additional video on combination knitting. Essentially, combination knitting has you reverse the traditional orientation of your stitches on the needles, but it gives a twisted stitch effect. So I'll try to put together a short video of that as a supplement to this, but I'm enjoying it quite a bit for this sweater. I tried it on last night, and my aim is to get about 6 inches of positive ease or a little more. It definitely has some ease, and that's as intended because I want to wear it as a layer over shirts or dresses. My gauge is not spot on. The pattern does call for a sport or DK weight yarn, and my row gauge is quite a bit tighter than the pattern calls for, so I'm getting more stitches in an inch. I'm thinking some of that will work out in the blocking process as this drapes. My row gauge is a bit loose, my stitch gauge is a bit looser, so I'm going to account for those things by just following the measurements that I made. I actually did a significant amount of calculating because Jacqueline's pattern is very good about showing a detailed schematic, and it let me put my actual numbers into very specific places on the pattern. So I'll be working according to measurements, just me and the yarn and a ruler, and quite a bit of double checking. I chose to head out to Washington State because I really was missing my friend Jessica. Hi, love. Jessica lives in a small town not terribly far from Seattle, and I thought it would be wonderful to go and spend some time in a place that's cooler, where I can wear my hand knits and spend time with a friend who is very easy to travel and hang out with. She and I have traveled to Scotland. We went to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival together. And then my family and I visited her this past summer as part of our West Coast adventure trip, where we traveled up the coast of the US through places like California, Oregon, Washington State, and right up into British Columbia, Canada. Excuse me. If you're interested in seeing some highlights from those trips, I did do some vlogs, especially featuring the national parks. But the West Coast was calling me. The Pacific Northwest is a beautiful, lush green place. It is quite damp at times, and it was definitely chilly, but I so enjoy that. It's an excuse to wear all my wonderful woolly projects. I live in South Florida, for those of you who don't know. So we are having our version of fall temperatures right now. Out in the Pacific Northwest, temperatures were more like 40 degrees Fahrenheit, 50, 60 some days, and a good bit of rain. I had no complaints. We stayed in a stunning cabin in the woods, literally surrounded by the most beautiful, huge trees. And it was a very well done Airbnb. A fireplace, lots of space. The kitchen was super well appointed, which was great for us because I love to cook when I'm traveling and have space to do so. I especially love cooking for my friends. I love to share meals and have that as part of time spent. So we did our grocery shopping and we made meals in the cabin. Drinking tea and sitting by the fire and chatting with Jessica was something I was able to enjoy both at her house for a couple of nights and in the cabin itself. She brought her spinning wheel with her.
I'm doing kind of a one spun.
I see that.
I'm doing a long draw.
Okay, babe. That was amazing. I'm really falling hard for that side of the fiber world, you all. I tell you the truth, I'm a spinner now. I know because I was definitely excited to bring my drop spindle, excited to try Jessica's spinning wheel. That was a lot of fun. She has a Lendrum. And also to buy some fiber out in that area that was local. I'm a collector, and I think that the way I balance out my desire to have more of what I love is moving into things like spinning. By moving into creating hand spun, I'm automatically slowing down the process of getting from fleece to a finished object. And I like it, which is saying a lot for me. I have areas in my life where I want things to be done very quickly. I want to get to the end. But while we were there, I was able to shop for some fiber, which means I will eventually spin it either on my spindle or my wheel and create with it. But I also was lucky enough to get some of Jessica's latest fleece purchase. She got a raw fleece, which she intends to scour and clean and prepare for spinning. And she shared some with me. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous Romney. And I'll insert a clip of some of the locks here that are unwashed so far that I intend to wash and process. One of our visits during the trip was to the Abundant Earth Fiber Lab. And this is a highlight and will be most of what I share with you in this video. The Abundant Earth Mill out in the West Coast works with small and good-sized yarn producing companies to mill their yarns to certain specifications. Lydia, the owner, is a delight. She's actually created a beautiful space called the Fiber Lab. You're going to see Lydia and the Fiber Lab in some upcoming video clips. I wanted you to get a sense of the space she's created. It is open and begs to be explored. Lydia really made an excellent first impression on me. She walks her talk and has set up something that really feels welcoming. It celebrates diversity in all forms, and it's inviting. Jess and I joined, we kind of dropped into a spinning class that Lydia was hosting and teaching. I had the pleasure of meeting some wonderful people there. Anne-Marie and Penny and Kim and Alan, Nancy, some gorgeous, gorgeous makers who just what made me feel so warm and welcome. Thank you all if you're watching. And Lydia allowed me to film some of her spinning demonstration. A few of the people there were learning about the differences between woolen and worsted spun. And she got right down at the wheel and showed them how to do each one. So the first part of what you'll see is a tour around the Fiber Lab. I was just enamored with the number of making inspirations like needle felting and doing your own dyeing right there in the store to create a custom colored yarn to go home with. The space is gorgeous, and so it was really comfortable to spend a couple hours in there. Another virtual visit for you, my friends. I hope you'll enjoy it. I'll see you back here on the other side.
You're either go dark to light dark, or light to dark in the middle. Okay.
Yes.
People don't want to bag. One and done. One and done. Okay. Some more water.
Lydia, I'm Marceline.
Hi.
I feel like we know each other now since I'm filming you. I'm Jessica's friend.
Oh, hi, Jessica's friend. What's your name again?
Marceline.
She
Marceline.
has a
I have
podcast.
a podcast,
Oh, hi.
and I want to help promote the lab
Yes,
on my
please.
YouTube channel.
Please do.
So that's why I have this camera in your face.
Oh,
You have first right of
gonna pretend like I'm
refusal for
totally
any
cool with that.
video that that you don't like. You have first right of refusal.
Oh, that's sweet of you.
Yeah.
There we go.
There he is. Oh, nice.
Okay, I'll show Lydia.
She's gonna be very proud of this.
Lean toward the center, so I'm going to keep squeezing that instead of stirring. With a skein, I can stir it around to get it to hit the different points, but with these cakes, it's kind of unusual to have two in one jar. It's a little tight, but it's going to work just great. Demonstration on my wheel for all of you guys.
Would it be okay if I film that, Lydia? Thanks.
Still pretty dark.
So, why don't I shift this table and kind of come in here and
So cool.
put it on my lap.
Yeah, go for it.
And I'll pull a stripe off the
Yep.
side. That is gorgeous.
It was fun.
Okay, so I'm spinning merino top, which we've dyed at our mill. Worsted. Worsted has double meaning. It's both in the preparation of the roving and in the way that it's spun.
The direction?
Not the direction. It's in the amount of air that gets trapped in the twist. And in industrial scale processing, there's different machinery for woolen spun and worsted spun yarns. So our mill has worsted spinners, but we don't have a comb that makes comb top. So we're sort of in between the two, and that's considered semi-worsted. So our mill prepares semi-worsted yarn, and woolen is something like Brooklyn tweed, where they're spun on a totally different system. Also, Pendleton uses a woolen spun system, where the roving that's being twisted into yarn comes directly off the card system into a different drafting and spinning technique. Okay, so as a hand spinner, when you're drafting for worsted yarn, which is like really smooth, what is an application for, I mean, so many things.
For
you
like
can-
making socks or something.
Yeah, socks would be a perfect application for a worsted. You want it to be tight. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be rough or coarse. It just means I'm not trapping, I'm not letting a whole lot of air go in there. Okay? My hands are
How do you
in
determine
control.
how much air you let in or not let in? By how much you spin it?
So I'm gonna switch over to this delicious art bat that Carrie made. And I'm just gonna pull one, and this is how you'll do it too, just
Oh, okay.
pull one piece off the side, and there's your roving basically. off of the bat.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. And this is a blend of merino and alpaca, and there's some mohair locks in there, and let me just get my. Okay, did you see that triangle that we were talking about? It's not really in my control. The take up is still pulling, and it's pulling a little too fast. Here we go. But it's right there. And I'm not really controlling it like I was with the worsted.
You can
know what
almost
I mean?
feel it coming all the way back in your hands.
So you want, the woolens tend to be more like a regular thick and thin?
Well, you tell me what you see.
I see your regular thick and thin.
Yeah, it's more jumbled.
Can you stop so we can see it on the bottom?
Yeah, let me get through this last little bit. It's not necessarily thick and thin. That's the art bat that I'm working with. Woolen spun can be consistent. And in woolen spun, I'm creating like this space between me and the wheel,
Yeah.
where that take up is happening between us,
Okay.
not
Not between
yeah.
here.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I mean, is that thick and thin?
To me it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Textured.
But it also might have to do with how well it's prepped, because there's a lot of nubblies.
That's
in it.
exactly right.
Exactly.
That is exactly right,
Yeah.
and that's true in all yarn. The preparation of the roving is, in my opinion, 90% of the finished yarn.
Yeah. And I
So
wanted
choosing
it
the right
like-
technique for spinning has a lot to do with what are you starting with.
No, I live in the suburbs.
Okay, now I'm doing the art bat.
More
Same
worsted?
same fiber, but I'm doing it more worsted.
Okay.
And I'm
I see,
my
I see,
hands are right about the staple length. I'm controlling what gets drafted and when
And
it
you
gets
run your
twisted.
fingers along it after, while it's
Okay.
twisting.
Watch this. There's the thin part, and you can see this line right here where it starts to get thicker.
Yes.
That's where I slide to, and not any farther.
Oh, because then you can.
And that's how you make a consistent yarn, okay? And watch what happens if I go just past that point.
Then it pulls
Can you
apart.
see how thin that is right there?
Right,
I can compensate for that by adding more twists so it won't break,
but it's still, you've got to.
but now I have a thick and a
Yeah,
thin.
yeah, that's
Okay.
that's what mine looks like.
So drafting to that point right there. It's right there. Whoops,
Right.
went the wrong way. I was single treadling on my double treadle.
I noticed.
Didn't realize I was doing that. Okay. And now, same art bat as we'll call it semi-worsted, because I'm using a worsted draft, but on a carded prep. Does that make sense?
Yeah, non-worsted.
And there's some lumps in there. I don't have control over those. I'm just gonna let them go. That's a very dramatic sample because the woolen spun is so funky. Get one more 3-ply. What do you like better, the 2-ply or the 3-ply?
3.
Say that again, please.
The more range you have working together for a common thing, the more balanced structure you have. Diversity creates balance.
That's the title of this podcast episode.
It's true. It's yarn metaphors.
Yes.
Yeah. So there we go.
Well, I came home just full up full of the light that you get being around great people. At the end of this video, I'm going to share a walk that Jessica and I took through the Earth Sanctuary. We were out on Whidbey Island, and this is one of the natural wonders that's out there. And it was such a peaceful walk. The two of us had the space to ourselves, really listening to the birds and hearing the leaves crunch under our feet. I'm hoping to share some of that with you as well. So if you want a bit of nature sounds, and if you'd like to spend a bit more time spinning or stitching or just finishing that cup of tea, I hope you'll enjoy the rest of my visit to the Pacific Northwest. I am going to start back on my sweater spin project. This is a combination of different fibers that I've been spinning away on this first bobbin. I actually just have a little bit of this braid left. I've got some Babbles Yarns fiber in there from Grace. Hi, Grace. I have some Cat and Sparrow UK fiber in there, and I actually just finished this section of the John Arbon BFL that I'm spinning into this sweater. So that's what I'll be working on when I leave you. I wish you the best kind of making day. I'm so glad you were here, and I will see you next time. Mwah. Bye for now. My mouth does not want to work today, but we are going to carry on.